Hello everyone and welcome to round 4 of GT Academy. It's the final round and we're at Spa-Francorchamps in a Nissan Nismo GTR GT3 car, Team RJN's very own YouTube liveried car, and this is the round 4 guide. I'm not going to talk about a lot of techniques in this one because obviously I've done that in all the other guides, but I will be talking a lot about gears and gear changing. Because that's the main focus on this one. That's also why there's no steering wheel cam, because it is all about gears. Now as well, I'm going to be racing a 214.677 Ghost. It's Dub's Ghost because he gets an absolutely cracking Sector 1, and it's just really useful as a guide. He gets a 0.6 in Sector 1. His Sector 2 is not as good, and Sector 3 is good as well. You'll find as well, just to give you a bit of an idea, that if you focus on your Sector 2, you will actually get better lap times than if you focus on Sector 1 or Sector 3. Basically, priority wise, it's Sector 2, then 3, then 1. It's a bit frustrating in Sector 1, of course, because you've got to you'll see the Ghost quite far ahead if you're using a Ghost. And you'll think, oh no, I'm really far down, but it really doesn't matter, it's all in Sector 2. So yeah, let's kick off. Oh, and just on a side note, while we head towards La Source, if you want to turn off the ghost lines, I'll put the link in the description to my YouTube sort of tip in how to turn those off. So we're going to approach La Source. Now you've got brake markers on the left hand side. You're after actually the thick middle pillar in between the 100 and 50 meter, so you can just see it on the left there. So we've got 100, and then if you look a bit further down, you've got this really thick metal post, and then the 50. It's hard to tell in the slow-mo, but you'll see it better in the fast lap and as you do it yourself. And this, you're going to brake just before this. Now with regards to where you need to be on the track, first of all, you want to reduce the angle of this as much as possible, because you are going to have to get a bit of slip in order to get the best rotation in the car and round and out the other side, because it is basically a hairpin. Now gear wise, you're going to be dropping to first gear, but as you come down the gears, you're going to find the higher gears will slow you down more than if you drop really to the low gears quite quickly. So you'll notice I stay in fourth gear for quite a while, third gear for quite a while. It's the same sort of time, and then I suddenly go second first at the end. What the second first does is it just throws the car out a little bit, and then I'll jump back to second as I approach the apex of the corner, and I'm already going on the throttle, and then I'm just trying to judge the grip. So that's what you're after doing basically, and if the further to the left you are, the further the angle is reduced, and then obviously the easier the corner is. The risk you have of doing that is the grass, of course, because if you touch the grass then you're going to ruin that. But as I said right at the start of this video, Sector 1 isn't the most important, it's the least important, so just make sure this is a clean run out. You'll notice I fall behind the Ghost straight away. It's a really good run I have out of here actually, but I still fall behind the Ghost. Don't worry about it. So your braking point is just before the big thick pillar on the left hand side in between the 100 and the 50, and then you're going to brake, and watch me as I come down the gears now. So as you can see, I then brake, fourth gear, stay for quite a while, third gear, stay for quite a while, and then second, and then first. Notice to jump straight away and the car rotates. I'm just staying on the brakes a little bit, and then I come on the throttle. Notice I'm just staying at 50%. That's just so I can get a good idea of the grip, and then I accelerate out, and instantly you can see there he's got a better line than me, got a bit more rotation, and he can accelerate out. Don't get too much rotation there. If you get too much, you're going to get more wheel spin. You just have to reducing the angle and straightening the car up as early as you can, just so you can accelerate. And we're going to approach Rouge and Raidillon next. Be careful of the wall on the right hand side. If you graze that, you're going to get lose a bit of speed, and there's no real risk of just running slightly wide there. And as we approach Rouge, I'm just going to pause it in 1 second as we approach it, because I'm going to start taking a different line here. So two things to point out here. First of all, you'll notice the Ghost is already to the left and I'm staying to the right. There's several ways to approach this. So we know the cones on the left at Rouge are really annoying, and the Ghost, which is Dubs, he takes quite a straighter line and then round, which is fair enough. I don't know why I do this, but I do it, and it works for me. It might not work for you, so try Dub's line, try my line, find which one you like best. I stay to the right and come across more, basically just so I can get a better angle at a Rouge and try and maintain more speed. And so as you go up the hill and then come across, basically you'll know how well you've done at the end of all this, at the end of the exit curve, because that's your speed trap essentially. That's how you know how well you've done. So I do this and then I go up the hill, and as I go up the hill I then drop to 5th. Now there's been obviously some discussions about whether it's best to flat it in 6th or whether it is best to drop to 5th. Now personally, after trialing it out for quite a while, I did 6th, I dropped to 5th, dropped to 5th earlier just to see what that would do, dropped to 5th really late just to see what that would do. Basically, the dropping to 5th part reduces the risk of understeer, and as I said, I've said twice now, sector 1 isn't the most important. So if you can actually just do this sort of lap, this sector as well as you can, and just make sure it's clean, you can focus on sector 2 and then your lap time. Consistency is a big part of this. If you can get consistent laps going round, you can start building on these corners, especially sector 2, because it's there where all the time is. So just make sure you get this right. So I would drop to 5th, but only drop to 5th when you're around 146, 145 miles an hour in the corner. It's basically mid corner of the hill. So as you go up Raidillon, it's there where you're gonna drop to 5th. So if we just watch me go through here now, so you can see he's already turned over, and I then come across. Now the Mr. Cones, but look how much more track I use here. I can then turn in, and I can maintain a bit of speed. I'm on the same line again now, but notice how well he's done it versus how well I've done it. It's sort of the same. Be careful there. If any more to the left, I would have been disqualified. And notice to change to 5th and then back up to 6th. And then the exit curve here is your speed marker. 148 is really good. Anything 145 or lower, something to work on, but work on the rest of your lap first, really. And now we've got on Kemmel Straight, and we're going to go all the way down. Don't worry too much about this part. And you've got another speed trap here. If you're at 156 as you hit that shadow, done a really good sector 1 really. And we're going to go down. So this is a 0.8. As I said, he gets a 0.6. So it just shows you how good that sector was for Dub. Obviously it contributes to his lap quite a lot, because his sector 2 isn't as good as his sector 1, but it is what it is. I would focus sector 2. And I'm just going to pause it here. So we're at Lacombe now. This is another interesting one. It's gears again. You'll notice Immortal drops to 2nd at the end of the braking phase here. I don't drop to 2nd. I'll explain my reasons first. What you'll find is in 3rd, if you do it right, as you come in and you just turn the wheel slightly, the weight instantly wants, well, the rear wants to come out, but it doesn't want to come out in a really risky and unsafe fashion. It just comes out slightly, and you can start to release it, and the car will just grip, and you can turn in, and you get a reasonable speed around the corner. Dropping to 2nd, I find, is quite risky, because the car can suddenly jerk to the right with oversteer. So I just like to stay in 3rd, and then of course if you're in 2nd, you're going to jump to 3rd anyway, and there's more time elsewhere. Now you'll find with Immortal's lap especially, he gets the 2nd part absolutely spot on, because he gets a really good line, but for risk's sake I'd rather try and get it elsewhere on the lap than here, because once again I'm just trying to get through here, because I know I'm faster elsewhere. There's bigger time gains elsewhere. So personally I'd stay in 3rd if I were you, especially if you're in the lower lap times. Just stay in 3rd, stay comfortable. The less gear changes you do, the less movement of the car, and obviously the less actions you have to do. You can focus on the steering and acceleration. So I'd recommend staying in 3rd. Now my braking point is just after the start of the curbing on the left. What you're going to do is you're going to brake just after that and just brake hard, drop to 3rd gear, and then I start to release it because I get a bit of oversteer, and I can just turn around, and you'll see me gain that 10th back that I lost in sector 1 instantly here. You'll see it straight away. So let's play it and we'll watch this through. So I brake just after that, and I brake 4th to 3rd. Now watch the car. You notice the car's just started to oversteer a little bit. He gets a bit there, does Dub. I reckon he changes to 2nd. I've not actually watched it. And notice, look at all that time gain. Now he'll gain a little bit back because he's got a better line for the 2nd part. But do be careful of the cones on the left. They're closer to the curb than the ones on the right hand side of the comb. It's very interesting the way that's built. I guess it's just the design of the game. The ones on the right are further away from the curb than the ones on the left. So if that gives you an incentive of where you want to be on the track, there it is, because obviously Dub has a better line for the second part, and obviously he gains a little bit more here, but it's hardly ahead. I mean, I was nearly 2 temps down on him at the end of sector 1. Look at it now, it's nout. So that's Lecombe. We're now coming into Malmedy, and this is another gear one, but this time it's your choice between 3rd and 4th gear. Now in this lap you'll see me change to 4th quite early. More recently I've been staying in 3rd longer, just for the fact that it reduces the risk of any understeer. If you're staying 4th, you're going to understeer off a little bit unless you get oversteer, and the only way to get any oversteer really in 4th on this corner was to hit the inside curb slightly, but then you also had the worry of hitting the cones on the inside. So I stay in 3rd longer, I get a bit more oversteer, then I hit 4th and then carry on. You got to be careful of the exit though, because the exit has quite a high curb. Now if you hit that in the wrong way, you're just going to keep oversteering and smash into the barrier. So it's worth straightening the wheel as much as you can, as fast as you can on the exit, and then just coming on back onto the track when the curb ends, because you won't get disqualified for that. So that's a good tip. But during the corner, during Malmedy, you're gonna just balance the throttle in 3rd essentially. That's all you're doing. So I'll just play that straight away through for you here. So notice he just gains a little bit there, but I start the turn in and I'm just off the racing line there, and that's just your idea of where you need to be on the track. Notice I switched to 4th there. I'd stay in 3rd a bit longer, and notice I don't use all the track. That's because I don't stay in 3rd longer, and he accelerates out, so he's gained that time back. We're now going to approach Rivage. So as we approach that, I'm just going to pause it here. So once again, your braking point is using the curb on the left, and I find there's 2 ways to do this. You've got a really smooth way and there's a really aggressive way. Both work if you get them right. And you're going to drop to 2nd gear. So the smooth way, you're going to brake just after the start of the curb in, and you're just going to brake, and then you'll start trail braking in and round. The riskier way and more aggressive way, which can be faster, but it's obviously the less consistent, and I think if you're in the lower end of the times, go for consistency over speed and risk anyway, is you're going to brake a bit further on after the start of the curb, and you're just going to chuck it in and literally start trail braking instantly, and the slide will slow you down a little bit, and so will the braking, but obviously the weight's moved a lot, so you've got to be careful of that. So I'm just going to play this straight away because there's 2 parts to Rivage, and that's the first part. So your braking is the start of this curb in. Notice I brake. This is quite a smooth one. I drop to 3rd, I drop to 2nd. I get a bit of rotation, but that's no worries. Now I'm just going to wait until I change back to 3rd. Notice I've trail braked quite a while there. So I've just accelerated a little bit and I've gone to 3rd. Now you'll find if you stay in 2nd any longer than that, you'll start to understeer. Whereas if you change to 3rd, because it's got a turbo, obviously you get a bit more power. You can see the turbo bar. Turbo works more, the car starts to oversteer a little bit. You want a 4-wheel drift through here because the weight then doesn't move as you approach the exit, and you can just fly out of here. There's quite a lot of time in that as well. Or if you don't get that four-wheel sort of drift or slip or whatever you want to call it, you're going to have to balance the throttle quite a lot in 3rd gear, and you'll also find that on the exit you're in the high end of the 3rd gear, and you're going to start getting a very twitchy car. So the best thing to do at this point then is to change to 4th, in my opinion. Now you'll notice Immortal stays in 3rd, but remember Immortal's a very good driver, and he uses, I believe he uses the rev limiter in the middle part of this, before the left, as sort of a guide, because there is no reference for turning. You've just got to judge it by the racing line and sort of what's happening, your speed of your car and the weight and stuff like that. So on the exit, do be careful. I changed to 4th just because that reduces any risk, and generally you can get a good idea of where you need to be on the track just from the racing line. So you'll notice now I start accelerating. I've got a very good line here. Dub hasn't got as much of a good line. I full throttle straight away because I've no need. I've just come off slightly just to reduce any risk of oversteer. As I said, it's very twitchy, and then I come across. I've changed to 4th. I've not got a very good line. Now you notice Dub is really far over the curb. Now you can do that, but it's very risky, because what you'll find is if you do that and then come on, obviously the curb's raised, it'll chuck the car and you'll get a lot of oversteer. The car is very unsettled for this corner, and you want consistency. There's a bit of time to be gained here, but there's not a lot. There's more elsewhere, so just go for consistency. Go as far up on the curb, but try not to go over, in my opinion, and just focus on getting this corner right. So you notice I've dropped to third again already, and I've started braking. You're just trail braking here. You don't do 100%. You're just making sure that you don't hit the cones, but you do hit the curb, and then accelerate straight away out. Once again, be careful of any oversteer. Change to fourth early on if you want to. As you can see, Dub does get oversteer. That's because his car's unsettled. He's ran a bit wide. And then we accelerate and we approach Pouhon. This is a bit of a time reference point for you. That's how you know how well you're doing. Look at that board and look at your time, and you think, oh, okay, I've done this well, I've done this bad, or I know where I am on my lap. See, I can work out where I am on my lap from not only the splits, but from sort of time reference points I've got everywhere that I notice what I'm doing. So that's just a little thing on that one. So we're going to approach Pouhon now, and I'm just going to pause it here. So you notice this black thing on the right hand side. You're going to brake just before this, and you're only going to brake hard for a little bit, and then you're going to trail brake into the corner. Essentially, you're just knocking off a bit of speed straight away, and then you're just looking for the right line and right speed round. You can literally roll the car as well, and you won't lose too much time. So that's well worth doing as well. And you drop into about 107 or 108. Now, if you turn in while you're on the curb, you might get a bit of oversteer, but because you're in a high gear, it catches itself, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. If you hit the inside curb though, during the corner, it will chuck you out a little bit, and it'll cause you to lose a bit of speed, so do be careful of that. But that's all you're going to do really. You're just going to brake straight away. Notice the hard, and I instantly start to come off. I'm just waiting for the right line, and I've dropped to 107 miles an hour. Oh, 106 there, and then I accelerate out. You can do it at 110, 111. That's the perfect way to do it. But once again, just go for consistency. Just make sure you get it right. You're just braking hard initially, scrub off some speed, and then you're coming off and just making sure you get the right line. This racing line is there as a guide, so you can see where the actual racing line is, and we're off it there at this point. And we're approaching Fagnes now. And once again, another time reference point there with the boards. They're really useful, these boards, and I'm just going to pause it there. You can notice actually Dub has just gone on the brakes at this point. This is another interesting one really. It's a bit like Pouhon in the fact that you're going to brake and then start to trail brake, but this time you're going to brake harder for longer. And once again, you're using the curb. These curbs are very handy. And I start braking just after, and I brake more aggressive than Dub in this one. And you want to get on the inside, but you don't want to. If you touch the curb at any point in this, you're going to lose any time you have gained in the rest of the laps. Do be careful of that. It's better to take a wider line through this just to avoid hitting the curb, because obviously you don't want to lose the time you've gained. If you lose a little bit just from going wider, it's better than losing all of it from hitting the curb and spinning out, or having to stop the car from oversteering. So brake just after this, and you drop into third gear. A perfect corner is around 81, 82 miles an hour maintained throughout this corner. Even if you go to 77, 76, 75, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you get around it really. And that is literally it for this corner. So you brake, you turn, and notice I've got a bit of oversteer there, straight to third gear, and I'm trail braking now straight away, because I don't want to lose too much speed straight away. I dropped to 79 here. As I said, I've done it 81, 82 miles an hour, dropped to 78 even. I'm just balancing the throttle at this point to get round, and it's basically to set me up for this second part. And as I turn in, I'm just going to pause it here actually because of these cones. Notice that cone is actually nearly touching the curb. So what you've got to do here is you've got to, that's why I stay on half throttle longer for the right hand part of this, is so that I can take a wider line through this. Basically, if you can full throttle this round, which you can do if you balance the car right, I wouldn't recommend it unless you're on for like rank 1 times. You can actually full throttle this on a wide line and go straight through, and it's a 4-wheeled slip again all the way out, and as you touch the exit curb you can be doing 103, 104 miles an hour. Literally, that is where all the time is for the top times and stuff like that. That's where they gain absolute ton of times, because obviously you got it's an acceleration period, and it's not just corner into corner. You've got a little bit of a straight. Obviously it's not too much, but something is better than nothing. So take a wider line here, make sure you avoid these cones at all costs, and start to accelerate. Now if you're finding you're getting a bit too much oversteer, change to fourth. Change it to fourth here. You won't get too much understeer from it, and it's just safe and the car is stable. So if you do find that, just change to fourth and it's quite handy. So we're just going to play that now, and as you see, I just come off the throttle only slightly and I'm accelerating. I've changed to fourth as well because I sensed that there was a bit of oversteer. I've not done it the best, but obviously I've kept up with Dub, so I'm on for a good lap at the moment, and that's another time point there. So we're coming into Stavelot or whatever you want to call it, the first part of it. And once again, the curb on the left is your brake marker. Now there's two ways to do this. The way I'm going to describe first of all is the way this lap's done, and then I'm going to explain the new way that I do it, and that was from watching Immortal lap and trying it and actually realising it's actually better. It's a good thing about these replays and ghosts, you can look at it, you can analyse it, try it, work it out and apply it to your driving style if you want. So the way I do it in this one is I brake quite early, I brake to third gear, I trail brake through and then just accelerate out. Third gear is quite stable initially, but on the exit you'll get very twitchy, so you have to change to fourth. And it's a very smooth line in third gear. I'm just turning in and going round. You've got to be careful of the cones again, but they're not as close to the track as you think. Now the way I've started doing it, and it's not in this video, but it's quite easy to explain, you can watch Immortal's lap to see how it's done, is you can brake later in the corner, drop to third, drop to second, the car instantly starts to oversteer, but it's not like a risky oversteer, and you can hit third again and you can really accelerate out really quickly. Like if you're going for like the top times trying to qualify, this is a really good technique to practice. So you brake a bit later, third gear, second gear, you're turning in, get a slight bit of oversteer, straight to third, you can just flat it round there really quickly and straight into fourth. And there's a lot of time there, trust me, there's a lot of time, because obviously after this you've got a long acceleration period. You're going all the way to the chicane basically, full throttle, because you don't lift off in Blanchimont either. So it's a really good technique, and I recommend practicing it. Obviously go for the smooth line if you're trying for consistency, which is just staying in third gear, and that's what we're going to watch. So you brake just after the curbing on the left. I broke just before that, but brake just after, trust me. And then I'm just trail braking, monitoring the braking, and then you can accelerate out and change to fourth if you need be. Look at Dub gets oversteer, I get oversteer as well, so obviously you can change to fourth there if you don't feel confident, and that's my sector time. Just to give you an idea, I'm about 5.5 tenths behind Immortal at this point. He's on a 39.0 I believe. In this corner, just be careful of the cones on the inside, and I'm just going to pause it here a second. Notice where Dub is, you can actually go even a bit further left on that. Essentially all you're trying to do here is sort of ease the steering angle so you can get more acceleration out. Change to fifth as you hit this curb, just for the fact that if you hit the curb in fourth you're going to hit the limiter, slow you down for the rest of this acceleration period. And on the turning, just make sure if you're finding you're understeering a little bit, just jab the steering a little bit, it should turn you in a little bit more. So just a few tips there for the curve pull Freya, as now it's known. So now we're just going to accelerate all the way to Blanchimont. As I said throughout this lap, we've had a lot of sort of gear changing and the risk of gears. Now, just before we get to the chicane, obviously we've got Blanchimont first. The chicane is my worst corner on this lap. I'm still struggling at it, so you may have better ways to do this, but I will explain my way. This is another time reference point for you, by the way. I've been here faster than that, so I know I can still improve on this. My target times are 14.5. I reckon I can get quite easily. So as we approach Blanchimont, just make sure you're to the right. Don't risk going too far near to the grass, and just turn in. It's very simple. Just turn in, and if you find you're understeering a little bit, don't worry. Just add more lock. If you scrub off too much speed, don't worry about it. It's you know, you're not going to lose that much, and a perfect Blanchimont is 154, but don't worry about it at all. Just turn in and make sure you get it right. Even a slight lift is useful for you. Now I'm just coming in now to the worst corner of the lot. I'm sure most of you are struggling with this. I'm struggling with this as well, because there's no real consistent reference point. Well, there wasn't when I got this lap, but I've sort of built one up myself and tried to go for a consistent, less aggressive line and braking point in order so that I can complete the lap, rather than a very aggressive, making sure I get the best like last sector time possible. I want to just focus on sector 2 and make sure this is consistent, so that every time I come round here, if I'm ahead of the ghost, equal to the ghost, 2-3 tenths behind the ghost, I get a fairly consistent end to the lap. So at the moment I'm getting quite a lot of 15.0s now, just for the fact that I've made this as consistent as possible. Now, how do I make it consistent? We can't use any of the brake markers on the left, they're not really very useful. If you brake using the white line, I find that obviously it's quite a very judgmental sort of thing of where you are, how well you've done Blanchimont, how well you accelerated out of Stavelot 1. There's loads of sort of ways that can change, and it's very judgmental. So sometimes I found I was braking just before the white line and I was nailing it perfect. Sometimes I was braking and I was like, whoa, what's happened there? I've just gone flying off into the barriers. So let's have less risk. We've got shadows here, and because the day and time isn't changing, we can use the shadows. So let's use the shadows. It's our last resort. Let's use the shadows. Now you notice on the right hand side the way the shadow works. So if we start right at the far right hand side of the screen, we go from right to the edge of the track. It comes into the middle, goes out again, and comes into the middle, and we've got a slight jagged bit. I brake just before this jagged bit. Now I say I brake just before it. It's around there basically. That's my sort of brake marker. I look for the bit. I look for this sort of indent of the shadow, and it goes up, and then I know as I approach this, as it comes back off the track, that's where I brake. And essentially, as we did for the source at the start, so I'll just remind us of that. You're going to stay in the higher gears longer because it brakes better, and then you're going to drop to first gear when you want the rotation into the corner. Now, in the middle of the chicane, there's two things you can do. You can stay in first or go to second. Both work. If you're staying first, actually, on the exit, you'll find that when you change to second, you get a bit more grip. Strangely, I assume it's just because you're changing, so there's no initial sort of wheel spin. If you're just in second, you're just straight on it straight away. But as I said, you can stay in second, but you have to really monitor any wheel spin on the exit because it will ruin your lap. So let's do the first part. So I braked just on the shadow. There we go. You see, bang on. First, fourth, third. Notice I'm not hitting the red line in at all. Stayed in third for quite a while. Second, first, and third. Second, and then first. And first was the closest to the red line. Notice I'm now on the half throttle. I accelerate up. I brake a little bit. Stay on half throttle if you're not consistent at all, and then accelerate out. I've started staying in first a little bit more, and notice how unstable the car was from just being in second a little bit more. And that's the end of the lap. As I said, the chicane is my worst corner, so if you've got a better way, go with your better way. I'd recommend staying in first and then going to second. As you saw there, second was so unstable for me. That's where I lost my time. I probably would have just been in the 14s there if I'd have done it properly. I wasn't, unfortunately. That's been a lap of Spa in this Nissan Nismo GTR GT3. Any questions? Sorry for any pronunciations with the corner names. Obviously, some of them are sort of French or whatever, and or the language anyway is not my language, is it? It's not English, so apologies for that. Any questions, give me a shout and I'll be sure to answer them. Make sure you watch this through because it's very useful. Obviously I'll put timestamps in the description so that you can jump to any corner again if you so wish. But now, as always, we're going to go into a fast lap commentated by me, and good luck with this final round. You've got a week left, unless you're German, then you've got a day and a bit left, so apologies for that. But let's go into the fast lap and how I try and think importantly on some of these corners. So as you see, 0.082 and 0.405. So as we go, we are going to approach our source. We're going to use the left hand side. We're going to look for the big thick pillar in between the 150 meters. You can see it better there. Bang, brake just before that. Second, first, get rotation, straight to second, half throttle, then accelerate out. Try and get as much grip as possible. We're then going to approach a Rouge. We're going to take a bit of a wider line in initially to try and just straighten it out a little bit, but you've got to be careful of that. I'd recommend using the Ghost initially. Just try both lines, and there we go. Drop to fifth during mid corner. Try and straighten out that steering as much as you can, and there's your speed trap there. 148 miles an hour is what I got, so that was perfect. And then there's another speed trap there of 156. So as we approach Lecombe, we're going to use the curbing on the left hand side. We're going to brake just after, and we're going to stay in third gear. We're going to get a bit of rotation, come off and just accelerate round. Watch out for the cones on the left hand side, and as we come into Malmedy, just stay in third more if you're on a fast lap, because I changed to fourth, it's a bit too early. As we approach here, curbing on the left hand side again, and we're going to change to third. We want a bit of rotation here, we want a four-wheel drift. We get that a little bit there, and then we approach this left-hander. Be careful, stay in third, straight into fourth there. Stop any oversteer. So as we approach Pouhon, we're going to use the right-hand side, the black marker there. Brake just before that, brake hard, then trail brake, and you're just trying to maintain a steady throttle, and then accelerate through. And as we approach Fagnes, we are going to use the curbing once again and drop to third gear. Don't hit that curb on the right hand side, just stay on half throttle if you need to, and get a wide line for this part and accelerate out straight to fourth there, just to stop any oversteer. Now you can be aggressive here, brake late, turn in, use the curbing and accelerate out. Be careful of any oversteer. As you see, both me and the Ghost get oversteer there. That's how unstable it is. Now we're accelerating towards Blanchimont now. Once again, Blanchimont is not a risky corner at all. Just take it as you want. If you scrub off too much speed, don't worry about it. You're about to lose it all anyway at the chicane. Let's go to the right side of the track. Try and use all the camber on the left hand side. Turn in straight away. 153, 154, 155 is all good. I use the shadow now. Remember the indent, and then comes back at you. Brake there. Drop to second gear, first gear. To get the rotation, I go up to second gear. I'd recommend staying in first, because if you notice there, I get too much oversteer, and that's the lap of Spa at full speed. So that's been my lap. Thank you very much for watching the guide, and good luck with GT Academy. And if you're trying to qualify, very good luck, because you've got another hard week ahead of you. So thanks very much for watching,